on the Texas A&M Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Choose Chill, and Gig 'em Aggies. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit Rudy's.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
Howdy, wonderful to see everyone here at Rudy's for another edition of the Aggie Football Hour. Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm
Credit. Coming off their 38-3 win on Saturday, we'll talk about the win over New Mexico State on senior night. A whole lot of participation, military appreciation as well last Saturday, and we'll look ahead to Auburn. And we introduce the head coach, Mike Elko. Howdy, my friend.
Howdy.
It is
good to be back.
To be alongside with you.
So I didn't think about this driving in. But is this our last one, or are we going next Wednesday too for Thanksgiving?
One more next Wednesday.
Okay, I didn't know
It
that.
is my last one.
This is your last one.
I'll be in Las Vegas, but I'm sending in a question.
Okay.
Yeah, basketball's out.
Who
there.
takes over for you?
Will be here.
Will,
Johnson.
so it's Will and I. Okay,
yeah.
so Will auditioning for next year. Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
I feel like I'm hanging on by a thread.
Never that.
Terrific win, Mike, in that there was so much in that victory. The seniors were able to be recognized in the way they played, and I loved all the participation in the third and fourth quarter. That had to be very gladdening. And I also liked the brotherhood that was displayed throughout those 60 minutes.
Yeah. Obviously I thought we started the way we wanted to. I think it was our most productive first quarter. I think at the end of the first quarter we had outgained them like 250-something to just under 100 and got the big lead. And then, like kids tend to do, I think we put our foot off the gas a little bit in the second quarter, and that was obviously frustrating, but challenged them to start the second half the right way, and we did that and got the lead up to 31. And then once we did that, we had kind of had a plan in our mind about trying to let some guys go, get some of those some extended work, because again, we talk about what you're going to need down the stretch, and you don't really know. And for us to win the big prize, we got 7 more games to play, right? And so you never know how this thing's going to shake out down the stretch, and you wanted to make sure you got those guys. And then we were able to get a combination of a lot of freshmen, some opportunities with also a lot of seniors to make sure that they got a chance to get out on the field on senior night, and so that was really cool too.
Can I ask this question? I really should be asking New Mexico State this, but you don't fair catch when the all walk-on 12th-man kickoff.
Yeah, that was disappointing. And obviously, listen, I got a lot of respect for Tony and their program and all that, and it's not a shot at them. But when those guys were out there, and we had a couple late additions. So we started that 12-man kickoff team back in fall camp. So, when we came in, obviously knowing the history of that, Coach Doward, our special teams guy, and I, we got together and we put together a 10-man unit and with the kicker, and that's been going. And so that group has been working together, and we'd put them out there every once in a while. And then obviously certain games you're expected a little bit more than others, the chance to get them out there. And last week we kind of added, we put Blake Boast out there because he was a senior, and Caleb Serber we were able to put out there because he was a senior. And so, Blake Boast is a quarterback. He wanted to run down the field and hit somebody, and then the kid caught it, and I think he was heartbroken. But no, they still got to get out there and enjoy it, and the crowd got to acknowledge them, so it was really cool.
That's what I think is the special part, because when it's actually, you don't have to tell the 12th man that kickoff team's coming on. They know that it's something special.
Yeah.
Then Mike Fitch announces that it is what it is, and then the towels start waving even more, and this and that. That's got to be something special that they'll always remember.
No, it is, and fortunately for me, we've been able to get them out there in moments in the game where I've been detached enough that I've been able to kind of get it to AC and be like, hey, AC, make sure everybody knows they're going out there. And so we've been able to whoop up the crowd a little bit with it. It's been a lot of fun.
And I know we hiss, but there may have been a couple of boos.
Yeah, for sure there was. For sure there was. And then how about the other one we got to talk about is Drake Bhatia going out for the extra point and And for those of you who don't know, Drake's a senior. He's a walk-on. He's been part of the team for a long time. He's never got an opportunity to kick. He's just a walk-on kicker who kind of really kicks to our returners is really the role he plays. And with it being senior night, we had talked about like trying to get him out there if we could. And he doesn't have the strongest leg on the planet, but he certainly tries really hard. And that was like an act of God, because not only what everybody saw of the goalpost hit, but like it got through like the tiniest hole, because it didn't elevate over the lineman. And so like there was this like tiny seeing eye hole that the thing skirted through before it ever got to the goalpost, to hit the goalpost to get over. And there was somebody in Kyle Field watching that one, making that ball go in. So it was great for him.
I've always said this. I thought E. King Gill kind of blew Seth Small's kick in as it was
There's no
left,
doubt.
right?
There's no doubt he did. There's no doubt he did.
And Connor Abel with the long snap.
Yeah, we got Connor out
well.
there to long snap for it. Yeah, so it was good. And I think we try to be really intentional.
Yes.
And as you talk to culture, right, like that's all of it, right? It's not just the scholarship players. It's not just it's everybody. It's everybody who puts anything into the program. You try to do everything you can. And we got Drew Beltran out there on defense a little bit, and that was great to see. And the Lockhart brothers, freshman and senior, Danny Lockhart and Jordan Lockhart, and they got to line up together. So that's a memory that family will have forever. And just some really cool things that happened.
And then I can't help but think that Tristan Jernigan and Lockhart are going to be together somewhere for you down the line.
Yeah,
it was nice to see them play together.
Those kids got out there together, and they have a lot of fun. And when they can cut loose and run and hit, they're really good run and hit players. And so, it was good to see those guys out there.
That's wonderful to do it. And like I say, every time a moment like that happens, I look immediately to that sideline. And I think that kick bounced over the crossbar, and you could see that sideline. I think they were going to take a penalty. Yeah, I mean, like they were just going to enjoy it for one another.
For sure.
Mike, you can't create that. You can't fake that either, can you?
No, and that's either there or it's not, and there's a genuine care for each other or there's not. And again, I always point that to the kids, because I'm not the first coach on the planet who ever said, hey, this thing works better if we're all together and we care for each other. They make a choice, right?
Yeah.
And they've made a choice as a group to really buy into that mindset. And, you see it in so many ways, but you see it at the end of – you see Malik Silla get a sack, and you see the sideline erupt like we just kicked the game-winning field goal to go to Atlanta, right? And it's like little moments like that that are just really cool for your program.
We'll talk about him as well as the other players of the game from that victory over New Mexico State. We return. It's the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, and it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll step aside. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. A reminder, Aggies Can, celebrating over 2 decades of giving back to our local community. Electronic donations accepted now through November 30th. Our thanks to Brookshire Brothers, HEB, and KBTX for partnering with our Student Athlete Advisory Committee in support of the Brazos Valley Food Bank and the 12th Can. Text Aggies Can to 83200 or visit 12thman.com/AggiesCan to learn more. Alongside head coach Mike Elko, it's the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit. To your players of the game on the offensive line, Trey Zune and Armaje Reed Adams.
Yeah, Trey Zune again. Trey's he's been so solid for us all year. He's been so steady. And it's really been good to see him. I think even though he's been really good, I think still continues to elevate and get better every week, and that's been really good. And then Armaje Reed Adams, it was good for him to go out there and get a really good game in. And obviously there's a lot more onus on him with Chase being down and having to be a little bit more of a communicator and doing some of those things, and he's really stepped into that role well.
It was great because you were able to rotate a lot of offensive linemen as well there in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, we were able to get Fothery and Crownover out there together a little bit. That was really intentional, on twofold. One, Trey's played a lot of snaps, but also, wanted to make sure that we had the ability to get Deuce and Crown out there together sometimes. And then, obviously Cam Dewberry got a good amount of work. And then as the game went on, we were able to we went with an all freshman offensive line to kind of close it out. And, Blake Ivy, Papa Afua, those two kids have really come on. Ashton Funk is having a really solid year for us from a developmental standpoint. And then Robbie Bourdon has been on scout team most of the year, but we were able to get him out there and get him some snaps and some reps, and so it was really good.
For a lot of those young guys, Mike, you can't replicate game speed in practice, can you?
No, and it's funny. We do it a little bit different, though, because, So we take a lot of those guys and they get work on scout team.
Yeah.
And so we try to run our scout teams terminology wise like our offense. And so like if we call offensive inside zone the same way on the scout team that we do on the offense, but that gives them a chance to do the other, right? As opposed to being the 11th offensive lineman and however many reps that kid would actually get in practice, he goes over there and he has to block Shamar Turner and they got to block Shamar Stewart and they got to block they got to block those guys, and we make it physical on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so it's really good development and growth for those guys too from a physical standpoint. So that's been really good to see.
Nick Scorton, your defensive lineman of the week.
Yeah, another very productive night. A bunch of TFLs, and he wasn't able to get to the quarterback sack wise, but had a lot of TFLs and a lot of disruption in the backfield. And so another good night for Nick. Yeah,
and they weren't going to. Neither quarterback was going to hold it very long, right? You knew that with the way they were going to play.
and it's been like. We were talking a little bit too. Like I don't know what we can do to get quarterbacks to hold the ball. They just won't, So I know our sack numbers are down and they're not where we'd like to have a few more sacks than we do. But I still feel like as I'm watching the game, that we're impacting the quarterback because quarterbacks they won't hold the ball. They won't go to their third progression. They just won't do it. And so and then I think as the game went on, I think that's why some of the kids in the back end of the rotation, the quarterback felt a little bit more comfortable. He starts holding the ball a little bit more.
Good point.
And now here comes Silla and Rylan Kennedy in other games, and those kids can rush too. And you don't want to hold the ball ever really.
I got to tip my cap. Seth McGowan's a good running back.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's a really talented player. Really talented player. And I remember him from high school. And I know that one thing popped up on social media because we make something out of everything nowadays. But he had a tough story, and I kind of sought him out afterwards, just let him know that I was rooting for him, and he's been through a lot of things, but it's good to see him back and playing football the way he did when he was in high school.
Big physical running back.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I remember him from high school because he was one of the elite kids in the state that everybody was talking about and everybody trying to go get. So it's just good to see that he's back on his 2 feet.
Offensive player of the week is Theo Mellon-Orstrom with 5 catches, 111
yards for tight end. How about that? And it was good. It was good to see him get out there, and he made a couple nice catches, a couple nice catch and runs, and so Trey Watson got involved too. And I think at the end of the day, our tight ends had 9 catches for just under 200 yards, and so good night for both those guys.
And you said that what New Mexico State was going to do, take the wide receivers away. So does that also show the growth of Marcel Reed? That tight end is open. Let's go to him.
Yeah, and I thought that was I thought he took some big strides too. He made some really good throws into some tight windows, went through his progressions, did a good job with his feet and his eyes, and I thought he'd take a positive step forward in the pass game.
Defensive player is the aforementioned Malik Silla.
Yeah. It's hard to not. I think he had 3 TFLs, 2 sacks, and I told this story to the team. I tell you guys these cool stories when I get them, but this was an interesting one. So we always talk about these guys and point them out, but obviously, Malik's in a tough spot. He's an older kid, hasn't quite had the amount of snaps that he would like to have. He's playing behind some really talented players in front of him. He gets out there some and gives us everything he's got when he does get out there. But I heard this. So during the bye week, him and Rylan Kennedy are in the locker room, and it's a little bit messy. And so him and Rylan Kennedy take about 20 minutes to clean the locker room up. And so here's another kid, older kid, not getting everything that he wants this year, still committed to doing things the right way, and then for him to go out and get rewarded the way he does, and then the team to be so excited for him to have the success that he does, like those are the moments to me that are really special.
You have a type of team that will recognize that those two did that in that locker room as well, and if they don't, that's okay for those two, right? That's,
correct.
That's who they are. There's a piece
choice.
Of paper.
We don't tell them to do it. We don't punish them if they don't do it. But when they do it, we like to point it out, because I think those pointing those things out to kids opens their eyes to things that I don't think they think much about, right? And I just think that's part of, and we talked about this before, but like they're still 18 to 21, correct, right? And so even though NIL is real, and even though there's more at stake and all of that stuff, they're still 18 to 21, right? And still part of our job is to help them grow and develop.
But they're leaving something better than they found it after that 20 minutes.
That's hopefully what they learned from this program.
Life lesson, not a football lesson.
Always.
For sure. Your safety, Bryce Anderson, on special teams was special as well.
Yeah, made a really nice play on that pin punt. I think we work pin punt more than anybody in the country. We do that every Monday. For about 9 minutes, we just put the gunners down there and work on catching balls down there because of how critical. Like we look look at some of those like really critical moments and maybe overwork them because of how critical they are. Like that ball that lands on the 4-yard line that you down on the 4 versus you don't do it right and it skips into the end zone. Yeah. Like that's such a massive shift in the game. So we try to dedicate some time to a lot of those types of things. And he came down there, got right underneath it, made a really good play, and then made a big tackle late in the game on special teams as well.
Jabri Barber said on Monday, he said, I told Coach I'm going to break one this season. Yeah. He's so close.
He's so close. Yeah, he is. He went a little Ray Charles on one of them the other night, I told him, and so I think that cost him a couple yards on one of them. So he was walking out of the special teams meeting on Monday morning. I said, hey, Ray. And he turned and looked at me. I go, yeah, Ray Charles, the blind guy. You missed a cut on that one punt return. So we had some fun.
Between him and Dalton Brooks made the wrong decision too.
Yeah, Dalton Brooks early in the year. Yeah, that was not a great one either. So that one got paused. The Dalton one, both of them got kind of when you pause them from the behind picture.
Yeah,
it's hard for the kids. They're like, oh man. I'm like, yeah, I know.
He is head coach Mike Elko. This is the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. Is presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll come back to Rudy's 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. It's Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest and register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a VIP tour of Reed Arena. You'll be recognized on the video board during the game. You can register today. 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. They are checking in from Mansfield and Austin and Shiner and Katy and Brownwood, Mac Allen, Lucas. Connecticut's checking in, Savannah, Georgia, McLean, Virginia, Alexandria, Louisiana. Ronnie is checked in from Tokyo, and Rip Arbella Volterra from the Italy A&M Club in Tuscany. We did not get to connect. We talked all last week, but we will find a way to get you, Will, Dave, and Coach Elko our olive oil and a few other things, and they want a coach's night in Tuscany in the future.
I think as we transition into checking in from Apex, North Carolina, I bet the wife back in Apex could be talked into a coach's night in Tuscany. I think we could probably figure out a way to get that one.
You may not even finish the question before she says yes.
Might not. So, and as we live in Apex for a moment, big one this weekend. So round 2 of the playoffs. Friday night.
Really?
Jordan High School. Yeah,
okay.
Big one. So we don't get to round 2 much.
Nope.
At Apex Friendship High School. And
okay, so what happened in round 1?
Big win.
Really?
Yeah, ran away with it.
Yes.
So that was good to see. And then, round 2 this week. So big one. So anyone who has any football gods that you talk to a little bit, we could use a little bit on Friday night.
You know what? I'm trying to. That's why we're going to be in Auburn in time for you to watch.
Yeah.
Because you have that set up, right? They've got
that's
similar
the hope.
to
that's the hope.
Oh, that's exciting, Mike.
Yeah.
That's really exciting from that one. Good.
As I like to kind of keep you off guard. So every once in a while I like to throw you a curveball, see if you can get off guard, come back on guard, see how you can.
You're just a baseball guy. Yeah.
Don't let me get in the booth with you and do color.
Oh, you better believe
you'll have a hard time.
Not only are you welcome, there will always be a set for you, and we have snacks in that booth.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Laura. Laura will always have that. There she is. She will always have that booth all set up with snacks.
I like
anytime.
All right.
But I know you've got that seat right by the dugout.
I do. But I'll come up and do a couple innings with you one game. That'll be fun.
We'll
do it in a low stress game, so I don't have to mess it up too bad.
That's a good. This after we were joking that you were trying to get Jace Laviolette over to the football team.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt.
You can always use another 6'6" guy.
You can always use a 6'6" guy to do something. I'm sure we could find a way.
He never played. I asked him that. He never played.
Never.
No, isn't that something?
It is.
And it would be, boy, you could, whether it's, we were talking about the Malik Silivs of the world and that bend there on the edge.
Yeah.
That's a position that has really transitioned through the last, you would know the number of years, but they're more athletic. They almost look like basketball power forwards.
Yeah.
But they can just cause chaos there on the edge, can't they?
And it's funny, a lot of them are former basketball players. You run into this story so much in recruiting of like a kid who wanted to be a basketball player. Basketball was his first love. He capped out at 6'4", 6'5", and he's a power forward. Mm-hmm. And so you start to realize you get to 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I'm not tall enough to go D1 power forward. But I start looking around, and I'm taller than a lot of these defensive ends, and maybe I should try that. And there's so many defensive ends nowadays that are basketball transition players, and you get that tall, long, athletic body. Ryland Kennedy,
yes,
that's Ryland Kennedy's story. I mean, he was a basketball player who didn't get into football really until high school, and now he's with us, and you see the growth like almost daily with him as he gets more and more comfortable with the game.
And then even Deuce Fothery on that offensive line.
Deuce is another
Very
one.
Good basketball player.
Very good basketball player. Dad's a basketball coach and basketball family, and phenomenal basketball player.
And you like players who play multiple sports, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's. I'm not a big guy into the specialization. Like I know it's important, and I know it's part of today, and I'm not going down that road. But like, the more sports you play, the more skill sets you have, the more different ways your body moves, the more you can do things that are just natural, right? And that's what you want. And I think sometimes we get into such a rush to, train kids to do a certain thing. But, there's something for a football player who played center field for 4 years and learned how to run and track a ball. There's something for a kid who played basketball or wrestled, and the different movements that he had to learn that he can then transition over into football, and then obviously tracks another huge transition into it. And so, I think multi-sport athletes still have a place in today's society.
In the old days, the lineman would wrestle. Right?
Yeah.
It was all leverage. And I would think a punt returner or a kick returner, like you're talking a center fielder, when you first do it, the eyes are bouncing, right? And then you learn, and now all of a sudden you've got that in your sights.
Yeah, it's natural. They laugh because I can go out there. I still can go out there and catch punts pretty well and pretty regularly, and I played center field in youth baseball from like 8 to 14, and like that's just a skill set you learn, and once you learn how to track a ball, like you can track a ball, and so it's interesting.
That's fun. Hey, the world famous now bridge is coming next. Okay, so you got a little time to.
So I walked you right into the bridge.
Yes, you
did. How about that? I literally carried
you
that entire set.
Every show.
But that one, like in particular, I thought I really stepped my game up to another level.
Yes, you did. It's the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. It's Aggie Football from Learfield. Howdy, Ags. Look for your opportunities this season for your chance to win Texas A&M prizes for the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today. Scratch 'em tickets and gig 'em. This is a portion of the show. Monday, we played a bite from you for Buzz. This one is now Buzz with you. You know that he likes to, with his program, it's almost football-like, offense, defense, special teams. Buzz is the rebounding guy. So as we're talking, I said, what you're talking about is very similar to what Coach Elko says about men of the 10. So here's Buzz. Here's Mike. Hunter, play this bite from Buzz.
Rebounding is my bucket, defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, and we've kind of turned it into, from a football perspective, this is offense, this is defense, this is special teams. With each passing year, we've somewhat created a niche in how we teach and coach and emphasize and grade rebounding. Stereotypically, when you look at our team, particularly over the last 3 years, that has been the needle mover as much as anything we do tactically. I think the experience, I think the talent, I think all of those things are a part of it. But the emphasis and the commitment within our program, this is a staple. This is what the standard we want to have in this regard. And I think it's influenced recruiting in some regards as we've learned more and more. And I think the staff's commitment and belief in it.
So I'm going to use the football analogy and Mike Elko with you. When a player makes a play, whether it's a catch or a run, he talks about the men of the 10. The other 10 on the field, what are they doing to get that guy the touchdown? For your rebounding, it's the men of the 4, right? It's not just the rebounder.
Yeah, and that's the good words. I'll research that. So when Texas A&M has the ball, when the shooter shoots, that's an offensive grade. Time, score, momentum, quality of the possession, and then we categorize shots. So the shooter is removed from the rebounding effort grade. The other 4, they have a purpose, distinct responsibility, and those 4 are who is graded that possession. And then from a defensive rebounding perspective, the opponent shoots. All 5 of us have a responsibility that's distinct, it's clear, There's language that goes with it. There's clips that prove it. When Texas A&M is on defense and a ball is shot by the opponent, there's 5 of 5 that have a job, and that's how we grade it. Each person gets a grade, but the unit gets a grade. Then on offense, it's 4 of 4. And so against Lamar, offensive rebounding, there were 15 opportunities where those 4 didn't do their job. That's too high of a number. Then defensive rebounding, 5 guys have an opportunity to do a job. And there were 33 times that we didn't do our job in those possessions. 33 and 15, 48 times, no matter who shot it, where we didn't do our job. Really bad grades versus Lamar. Now the rebounding stats, they were fine. We rebounded 47% of our misses. We defensive rebounded 70% of their misses. Those are good numbers, but we don't look at it from a percentage standpoint other than the 5 of 5 defensive rebounding, the 4 of 4 offensive rebounding, and 48 misses. That percentage is way too high. We're not going to go perfect, but that number needs to be in the high teens, low 20s. And now the rebounding stats and the analytics from a rebounding standpoint are dramatically different. So it's kind of layers under what a lot of the analytics say that we've discovered and focus on.
So Amari Daniels gets a 71-yard touchdown. Obviously, offensive line, tight end doing their work, but there's Noah Thomas down the field making.
Now I got you noticing it.
I do because it's so flippin' important, Mike. You know, again, that's the thing. And like you say, quarterbacks, too much blame when a play doesn't work, something like that. But when everybody buys into that, that's how you get everybody to do their own job, correct?
Yeah, and so it's a run, and it breaks out, and we get a good run, and Amari does a really good job making a guy miss at the line of scrimmage, and now here he goes, and Noah runs his guy off because it's man coverage, and so Noah winds up 35 yards down the field and about 25 yards out in front of Amari with one guy left. And that guy recognizes Amari coming, and he starts to go try to get after Amari, and Noah accelerates and goes and gets in front of him and is blocking him. I mean, at the time it ends, he's probably 50 yards from where the ball is snapped, and that's the play nobody sees and nobody notices, but that's the touchdown, right? And we talk all the time, if Amari gets tackled on the 30-yard line, who knows what happens, right? There's so much that can happen between us at the 30 and us scoring. If we're out in space and we're playing as hard as we can and we're straining to the level we want to strain, that's where that word comes in, then that's a touchdown. And there's nothing to chance on it. We're already created it. And so, I think it's cool. And you see our guys are wearing those shirts around the building now. They wear them proud, those Men of the 10 shirts. And we put video clips together and we're emphasizing it that way. And to me, those things are every bit as important as the catch that Noah makes for the touchdown.
Correct.
They're the same because they both are points for our team. And I think what we've gotten our kids to understand, too, is how valuable that is to scouts. You know, that it's not – like I think there's a misconception that scouts are just looking at receptions and yards, and they're not. They watch tape, and they watch tape like a person who has been around football for a really long time, and they notice all those small things. And there's a lot of scouts who have commented on those things from our guys, and I think our kids are starting to see that and hear that too.
And then you see the joy in Noah of making that play.
Sure.
Like, I think he's almost as excited as Amari in scoring that touchdown.
And I think that's part of what you create in your culture, and it goes back to what Buzz is saying, right? Like, it's celebrated, that block, as much as the run, right? And so as much as I'm proud of Amari for the run, as much, if not even maybe a little bit more proud of Noah for the block that creates the touchdown, because that's the thing that is so variant, right? There's good running backs who make good runs. Amari makes a lot, but like there's good running backs who make good runs. There's not a lot of, or not all the receivers are willing to do that the way Noah did, right? And so that makes it even a little bit more special.
If we talk about Marcel Reed, Connor, Miles going through their progressions, if only 2 of the 3 wide receivers run their route, you've taken that away. Easier for the defense, right? So if he's getting to the 3rd, 4th even to that, they're doing that. The offensive line that holds that block a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
But again, and Buzz has said this, that civilians, as he says, don't always understand, but now your players are talking that language.
Yeah.
They're wearing those shirts of the men of the 10.
Yeah. No, and there's, it's I say I've joked about this all the time, and I mean this with all respect, because football fans are the best fans. But you meet somebody and they tell you they're a lawyer. There's an automatic assumption that they know more about the law than you do. You meet somebody and you tell them you're a football coach, and the immediate response is always, "Well, I know football too." And yeah, but there's some nuances to this thing when you spend 16 hours a day working on the football and studying football and learning football. You see some of these things a little bit different. And that's not to say that the fans don't always know what's the best play to call, because they do. But I think you know what I'm saying. And so, I think it's what we're trying to do is create a culture of understanding of what leads to success. Right, and this was one of the first conversations we had with the team when I got here, was there's a misbelief that you can just want it, or it's chance, or you can't control it. You absolutely can control it. You absolutely can control your own success. As long as you're talented enough, which we are, you have the ability to control your own success, but it's not the things that you think it is. Those aren't really the things that control it. It's not the unbelievable catch, because that happens because of the route release and the steps and the way you lean through the route at the top of the stem. There's a lot of things that goes into that catch, and if all we focus on is the catch, we'll never make it.
Gotcha.
It's all those other things that are what allow those things to happen, and they're all controllable because they're all little details in the game.
Are you seeing your players understand that now through 10 games and 12 weeks of the season?
Yeah, and that's when you talk about the language that they're speaking. I think you hear them talking in press conferences. You hear it come up. You hear it in the locker room. You hear it on the practice field. They notice those things, and those things are important, and that's ultimately where you want your program to get to.
We will turn our attention to Saturday's opponent, Auburn. We return to the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call on the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the bulletproof roof guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. It's the Aggies and the Auburn Tigers. That will be at 6:30 on Saturday. Our St. Joseph Health pregame show will come your way at 5:30, get you set for the Aggies and the Tigers in what will be Auburn's senior night. You said something I thought very interesting on Monday, and you've said it before to your team. You're getting everybody's best shot. But if you weren't any good, you wouldn't be getting that, right?
No.
There's something that comes with being. And the ranking of number 15 in the college football playoff poll.
Yeah. We've just tried to get them to understand the mental psychology that goes into where we are, and I think, I don't know if we fully got that the right way going down to South Carolina. Not that we didn't play hard, not that we weren't focused, but I don't know that we fully got that we were going to get everything those guys had, night game at home. Mm-hmm. When you walk into their stadium and they can preach all week about the first place team in the SEC is coming to town and the top 15 team is coming to town, it helped us in years past,
yes.
Right? When we weren't in that situation,
yes.
That got us to rise our level. And so too, I'm sure, it did with South Carolina. It certainly will with Auburn. And they're a very talented team. They got a lot of really talented players, and a night game and Jordan Harris is not something that I really would ever want to do.
Right. No. And you're right. In the past, we have played day games there.
Yeah.
And this becomes part of the privilege of being where you are. The other thing you said was very different from 2020. We needed help that year to get to that Final Four and didn't get it.
Yeah.
You don't need that help this year, right? It's all in the Aggies' hands.
Yeah, and that's it is. It's the first time since we've been in the SEC that we've hit November with it all in our hands, right? And that's a different place to be, and there's a mental psychology that goes into that to handle that, to understand what you're going to get from other teams, and it's different. We're in a different spot than we've been in, and I think the kids learned that lesson. I think they're in a good place. We're certainly ready, for sure, focused and all of those things. Now it's about going out from a performance standpoint and playing the game and playing championship football the way we know how.
Steve wants to know,
oh,
if you could bring back Johnny Manziel, Von Miller, or Myles Garrett for the rest of the season, who would you pick?
All of them.
I was thinking too.
I'm going right on the fence. So if you notice the fence that I'm going to completely stand on as I answer this question, obviously, Johnny with the ball in his hands every play, right? That impacts the game on so many levels, and his ability to make plays, maybe unlike any college football in modern history, with what he could do from a creation standpoint, and that part of it. And then, how do you pick between, Vaughn and Miles, right? Both of them so disruptive and have, Vaughn obviously a little bit longer, but both of them been so productive at A&M and then on into the NFL. And I think you just think about legendary Texas A&M Aggies, and those three names quickly come to mind. And we actually put this together. I don't even know if they know this, or so maybe they'll hear this. Maybe someone will tell them this. But we put together, when we rebranded the second floor, a lot of Aggie legends, pictures on the walls, different pictures on the meeting rooms, but a lot of just Aggie football history that I thought was missing from the building. We kind of put all over the second floor. And when you start thinking about, like, okay, here's Aggie legends, those three names pop into your mind so fast. And so those guys are all over the place in there now.
It's their program.
Yeah,
right?
I've said that from the time I got here. Texas A&M is Texas A&M long before Mike Elko and long after Mike Elko, although hopefully I'm here for a long time. Right. But that's Texas A&M Aggie football, right? And we're the steward of that, right? And that's a responsibility that we take very serious to help this program elevate it and help it reach what it's capable of reaching. But at the end of the day, this program still belongs to Texas A&M University and Aggies that have come before and will come after.
I hope they understand when Jacob Green walks on that practice field just to watch, that they know how freaking good he was.
So they do, because I do. So Jacob picked me up in South Bend when I came here as a defensive coordinator.
Really?
So Jacob was on the plane. So from the first second I stepped on the plane to come down here until the other day at practice, I have been trying to get Jacob Green back on the field for one more pass rush, but he won't do it. So I certainly understand how talented he was and how great of a football player he was in college and in the NFL.
Good for you to do that. That's great on that second floor. Our final segment of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit. When we return, it's Aggie Football from Learfield. Come visit Costa Vida in South College Station for Baja-style Mexican made from scratch daily. Serving breakfast, tacos, lunch, and dinner. That is our friend Holly Johnston, Aggie-owned and operated and a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. This is the portion of the show where I tell you beat the hell out of the next opponent, so beat the hell out of Auburn on Saturday.
Yeah, excited for this opportunity and, heading down there and hopefully can take care of business. I know the boys are excited. They're focused. They're locked in on this task at hand, and we've had a great week of preparation and get on that plane Friday and go handle business.
Look forward to it. Mike, thank you very much all season long.
Hey, it's been a lot of fun with you. I enjoy you all the time. So thank you, guys. Thank you all for coming out. Thanks and gig 'em. We'll see you all next week.
6:30 is the kick between Texas A&M and Auburn. Our St. Joseph Health pregame show will come your way. That will be at 5:30. You will hear from Jabri Barber. You will hear from Torian York. Will Johnson will go one-on-one with Shamar Stewart. So join us. 5:30 St. Joseph Health pregame. Kick at 6:30. Hunter Stunkel has been the producer of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. Kevin Mensch, our engineer. For Coach, I'm Andrew.